This is Kasha Mitchell with Arizona Home Consultant, sitting down today with two of my dear friends from the Cascade Renegade Riders, Don Daves, who is the founder and the president of the Cascade Renegade Riders, and Curt Karch, who is the president of the Arizona chapter of the Cascade Renegade Riders. Thank you both for being here with me. I'll start this off just by saying how I got connected with the club. I've been in sales for a good part of my life, and there's always different personalities in sales. There are the people that are make friends with everybody people, and the people that are like, don't waste your time with anybody. And I'm the make friends with everybody people. I got a call on a sign for a piece of property from Curt, and we just hit it off immediately. We started chatting. Found out he and his beautiful partner lived down in Apache Junction. They were looking for property, and I was looking over a vacation rental, and I had a ladder break. And I hear that Curt is handy, and I was like in desperate need of a ladder repair in a very short period of time. And so I was like, hey, if I was to bring you a ladder, could you get this fixed for me? And he's like, yeah, absolutely. So I drove out to Apache Junction, dropped it off, met your beautiful girlfriend. Next day, come back, pick it up, and it is perfectly repaired. Like, not just my rung, but like everything has been structurally fortified, and you saved me that day. So that's how we met.
Yeah.
And then through Curt, I was actually introduced to Don. I was invited to join the two of them and a lot of other friends that had come down, some that live in Arizona, some that were visiting from Washington State to ride during Bike Week. And Don is my favorite person to ride behind because I feel so secure and so safe. And there was just I had the most incredible experience, hanging out with people I knew, making new friends, and riding with you. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Let's start with how you got going. If you want to start at Cascade Renegade Riders, do that. But if you want to start with the foundations, start with Cascade Renegade Riders. How did that come
That's
about?
probably the best way.
Yeah.
I was affiliated with the AHOG chapter in the Pacific Northwest. AHOG chapter is usually affiliated with a Harley dealership. Harley dealership, actually, I had the opportunity of going through 3 ownerships. 2 very fun, 1 not so much. I ended up getting, let's just say we parted ways. We had a hog group that was a family type of a deal, and then towards the end of 2013, it got to where basically I was no longer a part of them, and it was brought up that if anybody wanted to just get together to see what the future brought or to say goodbyes, we did that. And it was brought up of starting our own club. So at that point, the next month, 40 people showed up, and we sailed on from there. So it was a lot of work, don't get me wrong. We had a contest designing the patches. We had everything to get going, but then again, we're a riding club. We're not an MC, but we can shoot just as straight as anybody, and we've proven that.
What I don't know what an MC is. Some of these things you're gonna have to forgive me. I grew up Provo, Utah. Just about as conservative as it gets.
Well,
So,
an MC is a motorcycle club.
okay.
We're just a riding club.
Okay.
So we don't earn our patches, but we know as much respect as anybody else. That's probably the best way to put it. And respect is huge in the motorcycle community, probably maybe even more so than overall in society. Mm-hmm. With that being said, we didn't want to be nobody. We wanted to just ride, enjoy motorcycles, family atmosphere, and just have a hell of a good time.
That's
and
awesome.
That was 2014, and we took off, and it wasn't too far into 2014. We decided that we needed to get a charity, So everybody kind of got together. It's not, I may be the founder, I may be the president, but it's the vote of everybody that's involved. And so the choice was, after looking at many pie charts, a lot of pie charts if people don't understand. Sometimes a very small piece of the pie goes to the end result where it should be being utilized. Michael Mathis with the Burn Children Recovery Foundation, their pie chart was looking good. I'd been going to camp for a few years, and it was a no-brainer that we took them on as our charity. And the first year, I thought we did a pretty good job, and we raised $5,380, I believe it was. It seemed like a lot of work, and it seemed like that we didn't. Well, I shouldn't say it seemed like a lot of work. It seemed like we're accomplishing something. That's probably a better phrase for $5,300. But I stood in front of a group of people the next month and told them that next year we'd do $20,000. So of course, when I got home at that time, my wife at the time, I told her, "What in the hell did I say?" That's not my exact wording, but anyways. From then on, I didn't make no goals or nothing, and we continued to do better each and every year. We've never had a downsized year, and
Before you tell us where you're at, because where you're at is like phenomenal. Damn it. Yeah, Don showed me a video before this all started, and just like right before. He didn't give me preparation to like reassemble myself. He had told me, seriously. So rude.
Don't worry. I called him a jerk too. Right over here. I'm his conscience.
Yeah, I mean, we're sitting on that side of the room right now, and he said, I pulled up some information for you, and just in case you want to watch this. And
you did want to watch it, though.
I did, and I'm so glad I did. But he had shared some information with me about the organization prior, and I do want you to tell us a little bit about the organization and what specifically it does, and I will attach the video that Don has shared as well, because it's more compelling than anything I really feel like I'm going to be able to convey without some of the images. But tell us what the organization you selected, specifically what they do.
Well, the Burn Children Recovery Foundation was founded by Michael Mathis some 30, without guess, I think it was about 33, 34 years ago, maybe even 35. He was burned as a young man, and if anybody doesn't know, anybody that's burned, they have to keep having surgeries, and Michael has had numerous, hundreds of surgeries. And because your skin does not grow as you grow. So each and every time that, and it was an accident, which most of them are. It was gasoline, he and a buddy, and somehow the gas can got tipped over and blew up. And there's just so many horrendous stories. That happens to be one. Anyways, Michael was working for Boeing, I believe. And I think his family thought he was pretty silly, but he quit that because he had a calling. And his calling was that he needed to reach out and help these kids, which he did very well for many, many years. When I got involved and started going to camp, and that probably helped in our decision to what we do today and got us built up to where we're at, is once you're around these kids, like I always joke and say, my artwork is, I can draw a stick man, and sometimes I can even get ears on it to make it look like a rabbit. But these kids got no hands, no fingers in some cases, and they could draw a whole hell of a lot better than I can. So just being around these type of kids, and when we did ride into camp, it was like a ghost town. And then all of a sudden you see these kids start popping out of the woodwork because they want to hide. They don't want to be seen. That's kind of what they're about, is hiding. Camp went on for many years. I don't know how many years you had an opportunity to go to actual camp, Curt?
3.
3. And so it sticks in you pretty good as to what's happening and what these kids are about. Not only that, in a lot of cases for me, even being in the house and having son and daughter-in-law and their little ones, and, just as a matter of her cooking with the handle off the stove type stuff was, very much I tried to pass on that education to her of how quickly an accident can happen if one of the kids grab the pan. So there's so much education. so much support. Basically, what the camp does on any burn camp that there is out there is it teaches the kids that they are somebody. They've been dealt a hand that was not very good. In a lot of cases, their scars are horrendous, and some of them just can't handle and take that. So the suicide rate is not good. It's very tough. You can't get to all the kids. You want to, but you can't. So the ones that do have an opportunity to get to these camps, and the reason we raise some money is they get educated. And in a case where Michael was teaching, he'd lived it. So everything that he was teaching them, he'd actually lived through. And I pretty much know I was a fat, red-headed kid until I learned how to fight. I had a rough time, too. But after that, you get to a certain extent, you either learn to deal with it or you let it get you down. A lot of these kids have overcome it. They continue to do better in a lot of cases. That's what the money goes to. It goes to education. It goes to an opportunity for them to come to camp, helping the families out to, for instance, Houston. The family lived a couple hundred miles away. They went to the Houston Burn Center. They were staying in their car basically because their kids in the hospital. They were given tires to get there, help with fuel, lodging, things of that nature. So the money is spread out in so many different ways. One thing it will not buy is electronic games and things of that nature, which is going to keep them
Inward.
kind of inward and hidden again. Everything that the foundation was doing was to get them out. Some success stories. A young man, I believe he was in Missouri. And these kids come to camp from all over the United States. This might be centered in the state of Washington in some cases, but kids are burnt all over. That's not just a Washington deal. The two camps that we're going to be speaking about here tonight are both in Washington, but the kids have an opportunity to come from many different states in the United States. So,
What is the age range of kids who come to camp?
5 to 17.
Okay.
So you have some pretty small ones, and getting them away, sometimes the families have to come to them. The camp's always been like a week long.
Okay.
Nothing huge, and that's just basically because of the expense. Now, if the foundation had the actual opportunity to buy a camp, and I always said if I won the lottery, that's the first thing I would get is a camp for the kids that they can maybe filtrate them through a little more often and stay a little longer and come back quicker to hopefully learn more.
One of the things that is not as easily conveyed with words that the video that you showed me prior to this was, kind of how extremely disfigured individuals can be. And in a society that is so focused on appearances, that, as a healthy individual, it can be incredibly isolating. And I can't even imagine how hard it must be with those kind of scars associated with that kind of trauma. And so I imagine meeting other people like them is a huge part of that. You don't run across a lot of people. As you said, they seem to want to stay a little bit more hidden, but talk to us a little bit about how that relationally impacts the kids when they get there.
Yeah, from what I've seen and been around and actually had a chance to be firsthand with is the interaction with these kids to other kids that have been burnt is huge. So the whole week they're there, granted they get to play, there's water stuff. There's, one day the fire department may come in there and cook and have the day with them and have some special events, and the FBI shows up with a bomb squad and their robots and play with that. But there's always time for just the kids to get together. Nobody else except for them and the Michael and everybody that helps him out as counselors and with the kids to kind of interact, tell stories, and by stories I mean good and bad. There's always good that and there's always going to be bad that goes with that good. So what I mean by that is the kids, well, other kids picking on them. And like you were saying, in society is generally society. It's going to be that way. So for them to be able to talk things out, whether it's, teenage girls, they seem to pair up pretty well in kind of the age groups, as you kind of look at them. And then again, you'll find some stray little guy in there with a bunch of gals. It's just the way it works.
There are relationships that have evolved. And one thing, before I forget and before it gets missed out on, like Don was talking about the counselors and, some of the people that have, grown up through the camp have gone on to become counselors and share their growth and experiences with, the kids that are just coming in. And it's really huge and a big experience. And there are people, I don't know if I should mention names, but, Taylor, I mean, that's a true success story. And to be burned and, he forges metal. He makes swords, knives, and a lot of things. And that's a big thing that I take from it, that there are the success stories. Because if there was no success, it's like, why do it? Yeah. And that's a big thing to take away from it. And, I just wanted to say that. Thank you for letting me interrupt.
I'm used to it with you, though.
Yeah, no.
You're a good interrupter.
I was actually surprised it took you so long.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, I was timing it myself.
Well, I was counting the clock.
He was on his best behavior,
Yeah.
people. We told him, best behavior.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh. So you've been working with the camp for 12 years?
I've been going to camp since about 2004, I believe it was, 2005, something like that. I actually got totally involved in 2014 was when Cascade Renegade Riders were founded, and that was the first year that we got involved as a group raising money as something was our charity, and we didn't know what we were doing, but we figured it out. I think we did pretty damn good at it. So through the 12 years we've had, and some of the stuff we've done is a little over the top as for other people doing. Not many people have a gala, golf tournament, and car show in one day.
Wow.
I said, hell, let's give it a shot. And it worked out pretty well. It's all about raising money for the kids. And one story I always tell, and I tell the committee each and every time, because we have a committee that comes together each year to put these on, is anybody's open. When you're in asking for funds or gift certificates or whatever the case may be, the worst thing that's going to happen is no. And there was a time in my life I wouldn't ask anybody for nothing. Mm-hmm. And that ship has definitely sailed because, like I tell them, anybody that can leave their divorce attorneys with a $300 check for the kids is doing pretty good.
Well, that's an innuendo, isn't it?
Everybody's open, but it's the cause. I could go on with many stories about sponsorship, but we can't do this without sponsorship. We can't do it without the bike community and everybody else involved. And it just is. The bike community in so many ways is so giving, not that everybody else in society is not. It's just a special, don't really know how to put it, but it's totally different than anything else I've seen.
Having had limited experience with a bike community growing up, probably my first exposure was Curt. And then I got involved with the American Legion, and they're the Legion Riders. And, so I've got friends who are riders and stuff like that. But the thing that I notice is as a level of authenticity that you don't find in a lot of communities. And that is one thing that has always been almost like vibrationally irresistible to me, is when you find someone who is authentic. I'm like, I want to know you. And that's one of the things that I notice. And then there's like some degree of fearlessness. You know, I'm not the bravest individual, but like I had never been on a real motorcycle before I sat behind you that day. My brother had a scooter once and took me for a little ride on the scooter. But other than that, I had never been on a bike. And a lot of people had told me stories, you know, your mom's always trying to keep you off motorcycles because there are a couple things that can come with that. There's the accidents, and then there's the fearless men that ride motorcycles. And, you know, I'm sitting there going, what am I doing? You know, and then like we take off and I'm like, this is awesome. So, between those two things, just that lack of fear. And then there's this, y'all attack life, you know? You just, you make decisions to do things that you enjoy that are a little bit dangerous and very free. And I think that does something for a human spirit,
Well,
you know?
One thing to think about, you know, we wouldn't be flying if the Wright brothers didn't jump off a cliff with some kind of, you know, you watch those old videos of, you know, people trying to fly, you know, and they just crash down, you know, but,
Yeah.
you know, without that fear, there's no progression, and you have to, you know, it's always about progressing, you know, and that's, you know, relates to the kids too, about showing them progression, getting them out, because if you just stay in, live in fear, you know, and it's like when the first time I went to camp, you know, I'd heard a lot of things about it, and then my first time there, pulling on the bike, and all the kids were lined up, and we walked down, and we greeted, you know, there's a meet and greet with each kid. They were all lined up, and then, you know, we ate, and then we took them for rides, and we had the fire truck that led the way, and the kids that didn't want to ride would climb up inside the fire truck and ride in the fire truck, and then the kids would go pick the bike that they wanted to ride on. And, you know, we only had Vicky's helmet, which was small, and a kid with a bigger head was trying to get it on. Well, anyway, the helmet, you know, didn't fare well. But, you know, the thing is just the joy that it gave them and giving them around. And then you come back and you'd take the next group, but the kid would get off the bike. Oh, I want to ride with you again. And, you know, it's just a real heartfelt experience in getting them out and doing that. And, you know, it's taking that fear away. It's like you said, you know, it's just, you know, it's the fear of the unknown. And until you experience it, your fear is baseless, you know.
Pushing beyond your limits, like as an individual in general, like there's something profoundly healing about that. And so, you know, the instances in which I've ended up on bikes with you guys, initially it was just recreational for bike week, but the second time it was actually a ride y'all did to honor Colin. And, you know, carrying some hurt and some grief. You reached out when we were in the hospital this time last year and said, you know, we were all under the impression he'd pull through. And you said, I know there are going to be medical bills. We want to help. Cascade Renegade Riders wants to help. And so can we organize a ride? And one of the hardest things in my life has been to accept help. I love offering help, but accepting help is a whole other level of humiliation. And I was pretty broken at that point, you know, looking at the man I love fight for his life and hoping we were going to come out on the other side, realizing it was going to be a big, long recovery. And I said yes. And we did not get the outcome we had hoped for. And you were there at the hospital when Colin passed. Obviously, you don't plan those kind of things, but you and Vicky were in the room, and I think he took that moment to kind of sneak out you know, we were all talking, having what was probably one of the most normal conversations we'd had since we'd been in there.
Well, I remember that. I was talking to Colin's dad about, you know, we were going to get Colin on a bike because we had that party at Keith and Wendy's, and remember
he'd been bike shopping.
I said I'd loan him one of my bikes, probably the CBR. Remember, and we let him go ride, and you know his dad was even saying how Colin was excited and wanted to go riding. You wouldn't let him ride that time, but.
No, he made that decision.
Oh, did he?
He totally did because he had some arthritis issues in his hands. Excuse me, and sometimes they kind of numb out. Because one of the things that we were really great about is like we give each other our thoughts, but let each other make the decisions. And believe me, that's always the thing. You know, you have the person you love most in the world you want to control and make sure they're safe. But, you know, what kind of hypocrite am I if I'm like, I want to get on a bike, but I don't want you to.
Yeah.
And he was excited, and he was bike shopping, and I was like, oh. And so we come, and you're ready to let him ride the bike, and he's like, I haven't done it in a while, you know, and he's having some issues with the arthritis in his hands. Yeah, but it was only a matter of time before he bought a bike.
Yeah.
it was every other day he was showing me
before he would have been a Cascade Renegade Rider.
Exactly.
Right? We would have made it happen.
Yeah.
And he is at heart and in spirit. And as you are, I mean, I've always told you are family to us. Colin was family, your family. And, you know, that's what you do. You don't have to be connected by blood, but sometimes those stronger bonds aren't through blood. And, you know, and it's through sacrifice of helping others, like you said. You know, and you said the level of humiliation, and I want to back up on that because there's a difference between being humiliated and humility, and being humble. So, and that's huge. And any time someone feels, you know, that something's humiliating or they're humiliated, you know, that's a different way to look at it. Is there's a big difference between humility and humiliation and being humble. And, you know, as far as, I know I'm going a little sidetrack, but these are things that I think about in listening to Don's stories. And it's the sacrifice we make. It's like, you know, Don comes down the coldest time of the year, and I offer to let him ride my bike with the heated grips and the nice fairing. And
I know where you're going with this.
And I'm on the crotch rocket. And it was cold. It was 28 degrees. And
come on, take it easy. I'm going to have to grab a Kleenex here pretty quick.
I've cried so much already.
So I'll back up a little bit. So through what the Cascade Renegade Riders has been doing for a number of years since 2014, and raising money for the Burn Children's Recovery Foundation, is we've been doing this raffle at Skagit Speedway that Don came up with, or, you know, made happen. And through his passion of the other thing, you know, racing, dirt track racing, it's another big thing close to Don. And there was a gentleman there from Arizona who's big in the dirt track scene. His handle is Fugly Push Co. So, and what that is they have a push truck where a lot of these dirt track cars need to be push started. They don't have a button or key to start. You have to push start them. And he was impressed with what we had done. And through some labors of actually connecting and stuff like that, within 2 months, we came up with a fundraiser, our first official fundraiser for honoring burn children survivors. Wow. And Bill Meyer was instrumental in putting that together. So we came up with this ride we were going to do, bike show, all this. So Don comes down, coldest time of the year. I give him my bike, and I'm on my crotch rocket, my CBR, and it is cold. Everyone knew it was 28 degrees, and we're riding, you know, out to Casa Grande on the 87, and my hands were hurting. And I was even, you know, anywhere where there was exposed skin, it's freezing. Yeah. And was thinking to myself, well, I could just be home in bed,
Yeah.
just where it's warm. And a lot of people do that, but we choose to step up and suffer through sacrifice. And I was thinking, well, this money is going to enrich the life of a burned children survivor. I can suffer a little bit with my cold hands. That's just temporary.
Yeah.
And those are the struggles and the thoughts. It's not a struggle. That's what I think about. Well, I wanted to take another trip through the grandstands to sell 50-50 tickets. And people had to calm me down. They said, oh, you've already exceeded any other raffle that's been done in previous years, with the monetary amount. And it's like I just drag my little thing along, and, we have numerous people pulling tickets. And, so that's the thing,
I owe you an apologize because I thought you were going to tell us about the wind chill on there, which you probably should. What happened? The weather service wouldn't give you wind chill.
Wouldn't give me. So in riding, I'm cold, so I thought I might as well have some fun while I'm cold. So we came up to we were going down Gilbert Road towards the 87. We got to the Santan Mountain Casino. Well, there's that light there. It's 7 a.m. There's no cars out, and we're at the light. We're the first ones there. And, I said, well, I'm going to get on it a little bit. So I take off, Harley doesn't stand a chance on a CBR, against a CBR. And, I look down at the speedometer, and it's 130. I'm going 135. And then, so out of curiosity, I checked on the government website to see what the wind chill would be if the temperature was 28 and 135 mile an hour wind. And it said, it doesn't go any higher than 110. So it couldn't calculate
register.
it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, no, and I thought you were going there and you were talking about the Phoenix, the Casa Grande selling the raffle tickets.
Yeah.
There for giving
Central Arizona Speedway.
Yep,
or
exactly.
Raceway.
And it's interesting to me, and I'm going to pivot back to the foundations, the Burned Children Foundations, but it's interesting to me, not interesting, it's beautiful to me just how you guys see a need and you go, yeah, we can meet that. And if I'm not, you've raised money for the Humane Society?
No, that's our partner for the Arizona Central Speed Raceway, Fugly Pushco.
Okay.
That was his huge foundation that he supports. But when he saw the need for the burned children, he offered us this opportunity to give us this spot to raise money. And that's another thing that I want to bring up real quick is that, it's not just about our foundation and charity. I mean, obviously, burned children survivors are a big thing to us, and enrolling into Camp Iabsu, which Dawn and you will speak about shortly. But it's about supporting other people and other foundation. There's always people with needs. It's like for our chapter, specifically for Christmas, we came up with, people in need. So there's elderly people who are alone and, on fixed incomes and really struggling in today's economic times. So we decided to give them gift cards to help them. We pulled up on their motorcycles in front of their houses and started singing, "We wish you a Merry Christmas," and just brought some joy. And I mean, these people were really touched, and that's, seeing the big smiles on their face when they're away from their families to begin with. And, I don't want to say in dire straits, but some of them really are. They're, the economic times are really bad, and I don't want to touch too much on that. And it's like with you when Colin passed, because we had talked when Colin first went in about helping you guys because you were spending a lot of time with them in the hospital and offsetting your costs, because if you ain't making money, how do you pay bills? And that's how that originally started. But then after Colin passed, we talked about how you wanted the money or the fundraising that we did for you specifically and for the foundation you're creating. And I don't know, where you're exactly on that, but that was the decision that's made. The Legion Riders, that's why we're really have a good relationship. They open up the post to us. Yeah. They're very accommodating. And it's about supporting others. It's not just about us, We aren't going to take away from somebody else's need just to suffice or, we want to be top. It's all about burn kids. It's not. There's veterans. There's, food banks. There's battered women. There's battered children. I mean, it's just the list is endless. If you really go out and look, and that was one of the things we looked at too here was other foundations locally to support, because that was some of the pushback that we got was, well, we're a Washington club. People are going to push back on us for trying to do things for, something in Washington, which is extremely important that I can't reiterate enough, is that these camps bring kids over areas from all over, be it regionally or nationwide. It's not just a Washington thing. It's a we thing, the United States of America. It's not, and that's one thing I think people have lost a lot of focus on. And
well, it's one of the points that as I was kind of thinking through why I wanted to do this, why I wanted to sit down with the two of you, there's a lot of things in your character and the character of the club that have been traditionally foreign to me. One of those things being just like the willingness to pivot and meet a need anywhere. I grew up in a very structured religion, and there was very organized service, and I, for whatever reason, just thought that, the grown-ups or the organized people or the structured people help people, and then the other people, the unstructured people, because I've always been someone who's a little more of a free flower. Yeah. Those are they go with the structured people, and that's how they serve. And I noticed that you guys didn't have that barrier. You didn't say, how can I meet a need? Or like, how could, I couldn't meet a need. It's just me. You go, there's a need. How can I meet it? And then how can I mobilize all my friends and everyone else I know and every business I know to meet this need? And that was one of the seeds that planted as I start thinking through. I've got all sorts of ideas, and I'm probably overthinking it, trying to get structured. Yeah. But as I think about what I want to do to honor Colin, and I see a tremendous amount of recovery in it. I see a tremendous amount of perspective in interacting with people that are in challenging situations, because we all want to be in that peak place. We want to be in the place where everything looks good, everything feels good. You're in your bed, you're safe, it's warm, your hands aren't cold.
In your bubble.
Yeah, exactly. And life's not like that,
Not at all. And the kids, that's huge, because that is a huge part of what we do, but not all that we do, because we take care of club members. The Cascade Renegade Riders have actually never wanted to be anybody. We had a horrendous 2024, even though we were striving to become a nonprofit. As we've gone through the times, through all the galas, all the golf tournaments, everything else, we've still found the need of other folks in need and helped them out. We've helped out internal members going through stuff, do poker runs, things of that nature, which is always a good way to utilize and raise money for anybody in need. So as we got into 2024, came up that we were going to, because my saying throughout this whole thing, the last 11 years, is we don't want to be anybody. So what we basically did is we fell under the umbrella of the Burn Children Recovery Foundation. We used their tax ID. We did all of that. We just raised funds. Mm-hmm. They changed a little bit of direction on the way they were going, and what's embedded in my heart is being around these kids. So I say it over and over again. If I put together a committee that's never been around any of these kids, they're just going off of what I am, or what I say, even though they know I'm not full of crap. It's different. If you're raising money and you're busting your tail, you want to see what it's about. I do anyways. And I think it's huge. So it was pretty much got to the point that the BCRF was not going in that direction. They were pretty much getting to the point of retiring. Through the 11 years, we were a little over $901,000, which is something that I'm very proud of. Like I said, after that first year, and I said we raised 20 grand, I never, ever went with a monetary number again, and we've always done very well. I think last year was 171 something, which we beat
Sorry,
the prior year.
Every number you say, I want to repeat. $901,000, like the one below $1 million.
That is correct.
$178,000.
171 something this year.
171
Right.
in 1 year.
Correct.
What you guys are doing is unbelievable. And the impact that must have is just mind-boggling to me.
It's amazing what a group of 10 to 12 can put together. And it's really pretty honoring at how many people come and support this. The golf tournament and the gala is where we're at now. It's huge. So the toughest part was probably Michael Mathis is always going to be a hero to me. Michael started the foundation, but then again, you get to a point, I think they're basically going to be writing grants mainly. I was honored to be the proud owner of it's one of those things you always hope for, never really wanted. It is a 1972 Kenworth fire truck.
71.
Well, 71 Kenworth fire truck that is our mascot now. So we're going to be looking at utilizing that. I'm trying to put a committee together that's going to be the drivers to parades, things of that nature, so we can get the word out for where we're changing over to. The Cascade Renegade Riders actually just got their UBI number and are working on our EIN number.
That's amazing.
Which will be done very shortly. Changes the perplexity of things because now we are somebody. And that means a whole lot of different things to a whole lot of different people. We're going to be looked at probably a little more closely through, I don't know if a microscope's a good way of looking at it, but I guarantee you we do bad things. We're going to be looked upon very quickly by many. If we do good things, we'll be looked upon by few. And there's been instances where we were on the ferry boat in Washington. We got ferries because we got a lot more water than they got in Arizona here, except we don't have many swimming pools.
Little dig.
But somebody was sitting in their car and they went on our website and saw what we do with the kids and came up and donated money. So, I mean, we've got a website. We're pretty good at what we do. We're going to get the word out even further. We started out in Linwood, Washington with a minor group, and we've been up to 117 members and down to 40. Every year they drop off, renew. We've got the North Cascade chapter of the Renegade Riders, which is in Bellingham. And Curt and everybody that moved to Arizona, Curt was stepped up and said, "Hey, what do you think about this?" I said, "Yeah, it's a damn good idea." So they're putting it together down here in Arizona. It gives us a darn good place to get together during Bike Week. And, when Curt and Bill put together a deal over at the Raceway, and with us moving to what is different now, it's the same, but it's different. And it's the same in a way that we're still raising money for the kids, but we're back to basics. We get to be around these kids. So the Camp Yapsu, and I'm going to have to read a little bit off of this one because this is all brand new. I don't have this memorized. All the stuff in the past I can pretty much just go off of, no big deal. Okay, Camp Biopsu has been around for 38 years. Their mission to support, enhance, and positively impact the quality of life for the burned heroes through team building, challenging activities for those 5 to 17 years old, which many become counselors. They're allowed to bring on friendships in a fun and safe environment. Even though they have northwest roots, they are looking at expounding. So Camp Biopsu was given to their foundation by elders of the Skagit tribe. Iapsu means to rise above anything. And as many will be seeing on the logo, the bear, that's strength and courage. Way more than a camp. It's about family. And the Washington State Council of Firefighters President Matt Ricks, great guy, and Troy Smith, who is the actual camp leader of Camp Biopsu, puts it together. So what we're doing is earmarking everything to Camp Biopsu. The Washington State Council of Firefighters is basically they take care of firefighters and their families that have been burned. Up north, they actually have apartments and things right there by Harborview, which is a major burn center in Washington. And they take care of them through that, but they also fund the whole camp.
That's awesome.
So we want to make sure, as we've done in the past, every dollar we raise will go to the kids. Of course, there are some expenses, but we're all volunteers. Everybody does this out of the kindness of their heart, and I respect each and every committee member, number one, for putting up with me. But
Sometimes it ain't easy.
Look who's talking.
Yeah.
life wasn't meant to be
Hey,
easy.
I haven't been talking.
He seems so mild compared to you, Curt.
Well,
Maybe you're on your best behavior around me, Don.
I always try to be.
yeah.
I appreciate it.
Don't look at me like that. Carry on.
I know you can be feisty because I know how the two of you met, but
Yes.
we were talking about whether or not this story was appropriate, and Curt was out with friends, and you take over.
So I feel it is kind of appropriate because of what it's kind of the context of it. So we had this thing called Bike Night in Washington, and actually another Arizona chapter member who lived in Washington at that point, his name was Aaron. He was sitting next to me. We were sitting in the smoking area. Well, here's Don. I mean, I see him. I don't really know him or anything, and he's walking around selling these tickets to the gala that he was talking about. That's where we raise the majority of the money that goes to the burn children. But I didn't know what he was doing. I wasn't even paying attention to him, and I'm sitting here talking to Aaron, and all of a sudden...
Looking like you're causing trouble.
Yeah.
Looking like you're causing trouble.
This guy turns around, what did you say? And it wasn't as subtle as that. You know, there were a couple profane words in there.
For
But,
me?
yeah, no. And Aaron hops up, whoa, we weren't even talking about you or to you or anything. And he was like, I'm selling tickets for this gala. This is serious business. And, you know, and so, I mean, pretty much that went to pass. And then I was at another mutual friend's house, John's house, and Don was there. And I said, well, how do I become a member? And then he said, well, all that you do is, you know, just sign this waiver and pay your membership dues and you're in. And then, you know, I bought my patches and, you know, we were doing a camp out, and we have an annual camp out and picnic. And then he comes rolling in. He had just lost a dear friend, a long lifetime friend, Lester, and comes riding in. And I mean, I'd seen the guy, but I didn't know anything. And he's like, who's that guy down there along the river picking up stuff? This is Washington. It's a little more interesting up there, to say the least. Not to say there isn't problems here, but so I go over and ask this guy who he is, and he was looking for something, probably along the drug lines. It was one of those kind of things, and
He was an urban explorer. He
yeah,
wasn't like
no, he wasn't a Boy Scout. So I escorted him off the property, and then Don asked me if I wanted to be sergeant at arms, and then from there, we moved down here, and as more and more of us, we have the snowbirds, and we have the full-time residents that are from Washington that were Cascade Renegade Riders, and in order for us to be able to, stay together and collectively, I had said, well, why don't we start an Arizona chapter? And I asked Don, I said, what he thought about that, because otherwise I could just be the sergeant at arms in Arizona. But, that's not benefiting him. It's not benefiting us as a whole, because, the health and health of the club is very important. And through that, and just keeping people focused on doing things for others keeps them distracted on the crap that's going on in their own lives. And I think you kind of spoke on that by, doing your foundation, doing what you do. It's therapeutic. It helps.
Absolutely. And I think the story illustrates a few points, and one, that's the importance of respect that is clearly there among you and among all the people that are involved with this club. It's one of the things that I feel when I walk in there, and it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. And the commitment, and the heart, just stepping in. What's going on? How can I help? It's one of the things, Iabsu, you said it means rising above.
Yep.
Yeah. You didn't tell me that before, and I had to go back to that because, ultimately, life's not for the faint of heart. If you're gonna stick around a while, you're gonna see some hard times, and I absolutely love that Iabsu, rising above, and how you exemplify that.
Right, and not to interrupt, but it's always been the Phoenix Foundation was we leave no child behind, I believe is what it was. Or we let no child walk alone. There's always something great. And the best part about being around these kids is I've had some physical problems myself. And my saying was always, before we went into camp, to the group that was going in, we always used to have a little talk before we take off on the ride, was that, if you go into this camp feeling like you got some problems and you leave the same way, you probably should go get a checkup yourself, because I can't hardly see anything wrong with myself after being around these kids, and that's huge. And that's what I always told Michael. He says, thank you for what you do. I said, well, these kids do as much for me as I can ever do for them. That's huge.
There's so much power in perspective.
Right.
Yeah. And it's, I think it's human nature to some extent to want to insulate yourself from pain. But a lot of times, some of the purest gifts we get are interacting.
Right. And when, with Curt down here, I love to ride. And Curt says, Kasha needs a ride. I'm honored to be able to come down and give you a ride. Of course, one that's near and dear and totally holds my heart is Mitzi, and letting her have an okay to have another gal on the back of your bike, because that's kind of in some aspects, you heard about the guy that got shot with his footboards down or whatever. Anyways, he shouldn't have been doing it.
So what he's talking about is when you leave your house, like if you're married or you have a old lady, as we call them, and if she's not on the back of your bike, your floorboard's supposed to be up. So evidently this guy
totally
came home
clueless.
with the floorboards down, so she knew he had somebody on his bike.
Well, she knew before.
I know she did. So
no, this was okay. That's why you always get
trying
permission.
To clue me into a joke.
That's why we always get permission.
Yeah.
So back to my reason coming down this time is I actually, Curt had to leave early. We sell 50-50 tickets at Skagit Speedway, which is a awesome dirt track up north, ran by Mr. Peter Murphy, who was an awesome World of Outlaw sprint car driver back in the day. We got the opportunity. Actually, he went to camp with me. I invited him. We went to camp. We had lunch with the kids, and he was all in. So he allowed us to have the sales of 50/50 on the night of what was the World of Outlaws is now the high limit racing. And we've always sold, 10,000 plus tickets, which, $5,000, $5,400 goes to the kids, whatever amount we sell. So it's a great deal. And with when I ran into Bill last year, he was looking for Curt. I was going to hook him up. And every time Bill was here, Curt was there. Or Bill
Selling
was here,
tickets.
there, and Curt was here. And then at the last time, then Curt was gone. He had to leave. And then so I ended up giving Bill my card, and I put him in contact with Curt. And so once they put this deal together very quickly, and from what I'll let Curt expound on it, but for the next 4 years, sounds like a pretty good deal. I could do nothing else but come down and be a part of it to help kick it off. Not that it was Curt's deal, not mine, but definitely honored to be a part of it.
Well, and it's not my deal. It's the kids' deal, and that's why we do it. And so,
but we already know about that part. Somebody's got to put it together.
Yeah. So, but so the next we were given 5 years at Casa Grande for the Winter Nationals.
Wow.
They're usually held in Yuma. For technical problems, we'll just call it it's been moved to the Arizona Central Raceway. And so for the next 4 upcoming Winter Nationals, we will be doing this charity and fundraiser, the 50/50, and we had a bunch of vendors, a bunch of support. Thigh Brush, who's also supported the Call and Ride, been there. He's just been phenomenal in supporting us, and likewise we support them. And Dixon was there. Next year, Rockford Fosgate's going to be bringing out one of their big semis, with their sound system. So it's a huge deal, and Bill and I only had a short time, only a couple months to put this together, going through the holidays. Vicky breaking her arm, the loss of my mom, and everything else that goes with the holidays. And just I can't thank Bill enough, and that's the humility, the humbleness that comes, because Bill says the same thing. Just can't thank you enough, because it brings awareness. And, he's used to putting all these fundraisers on by himself, and to see the effort and the drive.
Yeah.
And
Biggest thing is we support those that support us, and we go way beyond.
and that's where his big pet drive will be the 4th of July over that holiday in Sholo. So we will be there to support him through that.
Awesome.
And
How can individuals get involved with and support you? What do you need? How can they connect? First of all, how can they connect with you? Let me break it into 2 questions.
RenegadeRider.com.
Okay.
We do have a website, got all the information. Mine's on there. More than welcome to call me anytime.
Okay. Social media, where are you on social media?
We've got a Facebook page. I can spell Twitter and all the other ones, but that's about as far as that goes right now. But we're always looking.
Okay.
We're always looking to try to keep up with the new age stuff, because that's how you're going to get it out there. We don't want to pay for advertising, because it's a huge amount. If you take that out of your budget, it's huge.
And
So
that's
we've
money.
never really advertised. It's been word of mouth. It's been Facebook. That's about all we do.
So you can collect financial resources, sponsorships, donations. What
All
else?
of that.
Anything else? And what's particularly helpful?
Anything that's going to help raise a few bucks for the kids. So the gala consists of an evening with a meal. I'm not big on silent auctions, because I don't like people at the end running up to outbid their buddy by $1. So I'm more into raffles with a dollar amount type of a deal. We have a live auction. Anything that can go towards the live auction is huge, because it's, like I say, all going to raise money to the kids. And all we can get back is getting the word out about your business and that you helped us out.
Yeah, so corporate sponsorship is huge, but
Okay.
we don't want to get stuck on that, because every dollar counts.
Yeah.
And I mean, we've had people donate vehicles or motorcycles or just services, I'll go mow your yard for a year, stuff like that, decks, like we have a Dunn Lumber up there that, they donate the material and then one of us donates our time to put it together to build the deck. So they donate the material and we donate labor. And it's things like that as far as the community and the sponsorship and support. And we don't want to think it's all about the big corporation. Like Lowe's has come on board this will be their 5th year.
Yep, always done well with us.
So, and they give us fridges.
Wow.
People do a special order. It seems to be the thing. But it doesn't matter because it was given to us. So even if we get $1 for it, but we don't give it away for $1 because if no one's going to give it fair market value at an auction, then it goes to a poker run or a different raffle, like Dawn was saying.
Nice.
And and then as far as the social media, obviously for people in the Arizona area, there is the Arizona chapter of the Cascade Renegade Riders. So
hopefully we can get them up there. A big one for us. It used to always be an AR raffle. Due to some new laws, we cannot do that. So guns are big up there as well as our most parts. We're going to figure out something to do there. But a booze wagon. We always do very well with a booze wagon, and hopefully Curt can get one down here and maybe even have some Red Bull on it.
Red Bull. Because I've got wings.
I love it. I think you both have wings. They might not be Red Bull wings. They might be angel wings tucked under those cuts. And you've definitely got angels standing behind you. I know both of your ladies to some extent, personally with Vicky, through social media and just her generosity to let me ride with you, Mitzi. And so you guys have great women standing behind you.
And we got a great
wings
one
tucked
right
under
here,
your
too.
cuts.
That we do.
It's an honor to know you both, and thank you so much. You have personally inspired me in ways you'll probably never fully understand. And so
I'll give you a heads up on the next video because now they're going to try to do one for the new foundation and Campy Op suit put together because it's so good on the side to see, and especially during a gala, you play something like that, people get up. Some people that just can't really grasp what we do or why we do it, see something like that, sometimes the wallet's open a little quicker.
there's an entirely different experience the more senses you have involved. Obviously, you're getting the ultimate experience, getting to interact with those kids and help them. And thank you for doing that. Thank you for setting that example. Thank you for modeling how to be a better human on this planet. But I am going to attach the video in the notes. Please watch it. If you've taken the time to join us to learn about this, please watch it. And please get involved if it's not with Cascade Renegade Riders. If it's with your next door neighbor, if it's with your friend, if it's with a child in your neighborhood, just let's not stay in that mentality that you have to be organized or you have to be structured.
If I could bring up one more thing, and that's next year's Winter Nationals. Curt's talking about what we're going to try to put together, it'll probably be all of us working together, is to get a family experience and have a kid go for a ride in a race car, and making it a big event for the family down here for that week.
So what he's saying is picking a burned children's survivor from camp that's willing to come and get the whole VIP experience, a hot lap in a car, to be up on the flagger stand, waving the checker flag, getting to walk the pits, and, just bringing that to them, to really show our love.
And whatever I can do to help, let me know. Anyone who does take the time to join us and watch this, please help. Please get involved. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kasha.
Love you guys.
Love you too.